Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you again. I'm Kathy Howell. I'm your chaplain. I have good news. I will be back part-time. We won't be gathering in groups yet. We still have to keep our distances, but I'll be able to be free for us to talk, socially distant, wearing our masks. But even though we haven't started having services. But if things continue to go well, I know we'll soon be gathering again to have services together. So this is great. But in the meantime, I've kind of enjoyed talking to you about different things in this, what do they call it, breeze time with Kathy or coffee with Kathy, whatever. It's really a lot of fun. And Mary said that there's been a real positive response, and so that I'll probably continue it in some form or other, depending on how things unfold as we go back to what seems more normal, or as close to it as or what the new normal is. And I have a feeling there'll be lots of things from the past that we'll be able to continue again, and we'll find new ways to do things that'll be equally good. Well, I've gotten some talking with y'all. Some of y'all told me how much you enjoy hearing my stories about my family. Well, I thought I'd talk about my mother when she was young. My mother was quite a character. She was a handful. I think I read you her eulogy. It was the anniversary of, it was her birthday last Friday. So she's been on my mind, but when she was a kid, she was quite a character. She was all full of energy and a little bit of a tomboy. And I told you how she used to like to go play. Oh, her parents, they lost their money later on. By the time she was about 9, they lost all their money. But until then, they were they were fairly well-to-do. And they had household servants, and they were, Mom was born in 1916, and her grandfather had been quite wealthy, and her father did very well to a point, but in the late 20s he lost all his money, which was not all that uncommon. But anyway, I told you how Mom loved to go sneak away from her nurse, and go run off and go play with the kids over on Adams Street. Now, Adams Street wasn't as prosperous and wasn't as well-to-do, but Mom didn't care. They knew how to have fun better than some of her friends did, but she used to always have a good time, and she was a bit of a tomboy. She told me she was always in trouble, that she loved to talk and she loved to laugh, and it just kind of got her in trouble. She said she can remember the pranks she used to pull. Can you believe it? My mother said, "Oh yeah, we actually used to get on the phone and call the drugstore or the tobacconist and ask them if they had Prince Albert in a can." And when he said yes, they did, the tobacco Prince Albert. And then they'd say, "Well, you better let him out," and they'd laugh and they'd carry on. I remember when we were watching the movie Pollyanna one time, she said, "Oh, look at that, if you've ever seen Walt Disney's movie Pollyanna, it's set in the 1910s, 1920s era, and Mom, it begins with some kids running after the ice wagon," and she said, "Oh, I used to do that. We used to go run behind the ice wagon and see if we could swipe big shards of ice from where he'd chip it in order to carry the big blocks of ice up to everybody's refrigerator. Every once in a while he'd fuss at us, but most of the time I think he didn't care. But it didn't matter. Mom said that she was always in trouble. She actually said that the older kids, when they lost their money, she was about 9 years old, 10 years old, they moved to a genteel boarding house. And they even had their own little apartment, but they went to a common dining room. And of course, a lot of the housekeeping, some of the housekeeping things were done in this sort of genteel boarding house, I guess it was. But she said that one of the ways she made money was that the older boys, the 10, 12, the 13, 14-year-old boys, when they'd cut school and go sneak over to the pool hall and play pool, probably 15, 16 even, they used to pay her a penny a day to sit on the step and watch for the mailman to come, and then grab all the truant notices out of the mail and give that were designed for their parents, and she'd get a penny a day for that. But it's funny, those kind of things, the things of our childhood have a great impact, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on that, and perhaps some of you have. Well, one of the ways I really saw it was we were at a friend of mine's house. Now, Judy, we're from New Orleans, and of course, my mother loved older houses, and Judy and her husband had just finished restoring a typical New Orleans double shotgun house. Now, that's a style of house where the rooms are lined up one right behind the other. And if you open the door in the front and all the doors through the house, you could shoot a shotgun clear through and you wouldn't hit anything. It'd go right through the house. There were no hallways. But this was like a two shotgun houses side by side. So Judy, they knocked down walls, they opened it up, but they kept a lot of the original moldings. I guess the cottage was from the 1880s or so, 1890s, had a lot of the gingerbread, the wood that's cut out, and a lot of antique furniture in there. So Mom was with me one day. I stopped by to drop something off to Judy, and Judy invited us in and was eager to show off her house. And Mom oohed and awed over all the wonderful things in Judy's house, and they commented on things and talked about it. And just as we entered Judy's dining room, the phone rang, and Judy walked and said, "Excuse me, I've got to catch that." And she walked out, left the room, and went and answered the phone. And I saw Mom stiffen, and she wrinkled up her nose, and she looked around, and I said, "Mom, what's wrong?" You could see the difference. And Mom said, "Ooh, this furniture. It makes me so uncomfortable." And I said, "It does." And I looked at it, and I wouldn't have thought it was particularly bad. It was sort of that Victorian barley dark wood, highly carved with the barley twist legs and all this. It's not particularly the style Mom favored, but it was well done furniture. I didn't know why she was reacting this way. And she said, "Oh my goodness, what is it? It's just, whoo!" She went like that. And I said, "Mom." She said, "Yeah, I don't know what." "I know what it is." It was furniture just like this in the dining room at the rectory at Mata della Rosa. I said, "Mata della Rosa? You mean the Catholic Church? Right, here in Carrollton?" "Yes, until I was 8 years old. We lived in Carrollton, and I went to school at Mata della Rosa School. And I was always in trouble for one reason or another. And when the principal didn't know what to do with me, when she felt like she couldn't do anything, she'd send me, and I'd be in so much trouble again, she'd send me to see the pastor over in the rectory. And I remember I'd have to sit while he would be in his office and have to sit and wait for him in the dining room. And they had this dark, scary-looking barley twist furniture. Oh, the dining room set looked just like this, with the table, the chairs, the buffet sideboard. Oh! I said, "Mom, I've never seen you react so strongly." She said, "Well, you don't know how much I dreaded sitting there. It seemed like he kept me there for hours every time I went, just because he knew I was miserable, and you'd wait to have, to have the priest, 6 feet something tall, booming deep voice, fuss at you. Oh, I hated when Father Poche fussed at me. It was terrible. Ooh, I hated going over there. And I hated waiting for him in that dining room. And oh, this furniture reminds me of it. Whoa! I said, good grief, Mom. And then Judy comes back in, and she said, oh, I'm sorry I had to interrupt the tour. What do you think of my dining room? And I said, oh, Judy, it's wonderful. I really like it. And she said, oh, and the dining room set, I'm so excited about it. We only got it last month. My husband's uncle is a priest, and he found out that Monte della Rosa Rectory was selling their dining room set. And I went ahead and bought it. Oh, I'm so glad he called us, because isn't it just great? And it fits the age of the house beautifully. And I said, oh, that's so nice. And Mom looked at me, and I looked at her, and we didn't tell Judy how uncomfortable that furniture had made my mother feel. You know, it's funny how you can see something even after, gosh, that must have been at least 60 years, maybe closer to 70, since Mom had seen that furniture. And yet there it was. Not only was it furniture that looked like it, it turned out it was exactly the same furniture. What are the odds of that? Yet it gave Mom and I an opportunity to talk about something. I didn't know quite how much trouble she'd gotten into as a child before that point. I knew she'd had her ups and downs, but I never knew she'd gotten that much trouble. But we had many a conversation about it since then. And it's funny how things don't leave you. They can really make a mark, particularly when you're young. And I think that's true for the things that affect us in ways that give us chills and make us uncomfortable 60 odd years later, as it is for the good things. That's probably why sometimes we hang on to things for sentimental value, because they help us connect with a feeling or a time. Of course, I never had to worry that Mother would ever buy furniture that looked like that. Now I know. And I realized that she didn't favor that style of furniture, but maybe it's because of her childhood and all the uncomfortable hours she waited for the Father Poche to come in and fuss at her when she was 7 or 8 years old. But I think we all have memories of things. And like Mom, you don't always know why at first something affects you like that. And sometimes when I have sort of a knee-jerk reaction to something, I have to stop and I have to think about it. What is triggering this? And sometimes it is something as simple as a physical trigger that reminds me of something else, and I've reacted on kind of an emotional level. It's something I've seen or something someone said that reminded me of a time that I didn't really analyze. I just let the emotion come out without filtering it through any level of understanding. That can be real negative. But the times that those are positive emotions, it can be really positive. I think that's why I have some of my favorite photographs around me, where I can see them. They're on a bookshelf in my bedroom, and I can see them every morning when I wake up. Ones that trigger memories of people and places that warm my heart. I know all of our memories aren't good ones, but I hope you remember that you will try to connect with the good memories you have in one way or another, and try to keep them keep connected in a way that gives you energy in a positive way for today, because that's something that it does. That's what I find when I look at my photographs in the morning, and even though my eyes glance over them, those times and those people are so beloved, and most of them are gone or now. that I feel warmth and being reminded that I have been and continue to be loved and be blessed to know, have had wonderful people and wonderful experiences in my life. And after all, since God's given me that in the past, it's got to be part of my future. Not entirely. Nobody ever gets everything 100% perfect in life. But those moments are going to be there, the good ones. And I really think we can cherish those and hang on to them. Until next time, thanks.